Hard to believe that we've hit already the last Sunday of Advent. It's always a reminder to me that I've got to start my Christmas shopping pretty soon. Over this series that we've had over Advent, we've been talking about Jesus as an unexpected visitor. And we've seen how he came to a senior citizen named Zechariah when he least expected it. And he came to a teenager named Mary when she least expected it. And he came to some outsiders, some people who are considered less than, to shepherds when they least expected it. And today, in the culmination, we're going to see how he comes into our lives when we least expect it. And that's why I've entitled the message this morning, "For God so loved this messy world." It's probably no surprise to you if I were to say that the world that we're living in today is a mess. Just yesterday, I was listening to the news last night, and I heard the awful news of the two Brooklyn, New York police officers who were simply sitting in their squad car talking to each other when a young man came up from behind with a semi-automatic weapon and killed them both instantly. He then ran down to a subway in New York and killed himself. Completely, absolutely senseless. And then shortly after that, as I was continuing to listen, I heard of an elderly gentleman, 101 years old, a World War II veteran, a veteran of Normandy, led a man into his home who was posing as a city worker. The man overpowered him, tied him up, and stole as much of his goods as he could take away with him. Our world's in a mess. You know what's happening around the world. You've heard about ISIS. You've heard about the Taliban and the atrocities that they've committed. You know what's happening with the ozone layer around the earth, with pollution. Israel, Palestine, Syria, Egypt. It goes on and on and on. Our world's in a mess. And it's not only the world that's in a mess, but oftentimes our world is in a mess as well. Some of you here today are struggling with health issues. And you're relieved to see 2014 come to an end, but you're wondering and hoping and praying that 2015 might bring some good news from doctors. For some of you, this is the first Christmas that you're going to spend with an empty chair around your table as you mourn the loss of a loved one. Some of you are experiencing financial difficulties, and you're wondering how you're going to get all the bills paid that you're facing in the new year. Others of you may have vocational issues. You may have lost a job, and you're wondering if you're going to be able to find anything after Christmas. Some of you are experiencing relational issues, marriage problems, family problems. The world is in a mess. And oftentimes our world is in a mess. Now we try to hide the mess. We do the best we can. Many times we don't want others to know how messed up our lives are, how messy it is. Reminds me when my son Justin was 5 or 6 years old. His mother made the mistake of walking past his bedroom one day, and she looked in and saw the mess that it was in. It looked like a tsunami had gone through. And so she grabbed Justin and she said, "You go in there and start cleaning up and don't come out until it's straightened up." So about a minute later, Justin comes out with a big smile on his face. And I said, "Justin, what are you doing?" Don't come out until your room's clean. You heard your mother. She's going to kill you. Trying to save him. And he had a big smile on his face, and he said, "It's okay, Dad. I got it covered. It's clean." So I wonder, how in the world did he do this? So I wandered into the room, and sure enough, it was clean. Everything was spotless. There wasn't a piece of clothing on the floor. The toys were gone. It was clean. Of course, I made the mistake of opening up the closet door. Realized how he had cleaned his room so quickly. But that's what we try to do. We try to hide the mess so that others don't see it. And sometimes we go to extraordinary lengths to keep others from knowing that our lives are a mess. Sometimes this time of year, we hope that our Christmas decorations can hide the mess. And we'll decorate the front of our house, and we'll put up a tree, and we'll put decorations all around. And we hope that it'll hide the fact that our lives are a mess. The world is a mess. Our world is a mess. But beyond that, have you ever thought about the fact that Jesus came into a messy world? Think about the world in which Jesus entered. Israel, his native country, was an occupied territory. Imagine the threat of violence and instability in Israel at this time as their Roman overlords lorded it over them. His country was occupied. Jesus himself was a resident of Nazareth as he was growing up. This was a little Jewish enclave within a Gentile territory. Very poor, overpopulated. Nazareth of Jesus' day had a scarcity of natural resources. Very little water, very little in the way of fertile soil. Sickness and disease was rampant, and of course the greatest scourge of the ancient world, leprosy, was rampant. The world to which Jesus entered, the town that he entered, was messy. And Jesus' family life was messy. We looked at this last week. He was born to an unwed mother who could have been stoned to death for having a baby out of wedlock. He himself was born in a cattle shed. Now, we tend to romanticize the environment that Jesus was born into, don't we? I mean, don't take me wrong. I love Christmas decorations. We put up all kinds of little nativity scenes around our house. But you compare this to the reality of what Jesus endured, what he entered into, and it's day and night. Have you ever been to a petting zoo? If you have, you know the smell, the germs, the dirt, the animals. It wasn't like this at all. But we tend to pretty it up. In fact, we even have stained glass windows that show angels floating around, and Mary with a halo, and Jesus with a halo. And it looks so clean. It looks so sanitized. This is not the world to which Jesus entered. He entered around dirt and smell and germs. He himself ended up crucified as a criminal. He and his family were refugees in a foreign country. The world is a mess. Our world oftentimes is a mess. Jesus entered into a messy world, and you would have thought by this time that Jesus would have learned his lesson, but he continues to enter into messy lives even up to the present day. Think about your life right now. What is the messiest part of your life? No, there may be some parts of your life that are quite good. There may be some parts that you've allowed, some rooms in your life, if you want to put it this way, some rooms in your life that Jesus has entered in. And they may be sweet smelling, they may be clean, they may be sanitized. But are there rooms in your life that Jesus has not entered into yet? Is there a corner of your life that you've not allowed him to come into? It may be a large room. There may be a spacious room, a central part of your home that you've not let Jesus come into. On the other hand, it may be a little closet. In fact, it may be a little corner of a closet. It could be a little box in that corner of a closet. And this is one part of your life that he's not come into, one part that you've not let him have. And you've wondered if you can hold that secret, if you can keep it away from him, if you can prevent him from knowing about it. But it's there. And it smells. And it's dirty. And you know that it's affecting your life. There could be a sin that you're struggling with, and you've tried over and over again to defeat it, but it's got you in its grasp, and you can't seem to master it. It could be a relationship in your life that you're struggling with, and you've tried to give it over to God, but somehow it's still a mess. What comes to your mind as I talk about this? What part of your life, what area is the messiest? It's that spot. It's that mess. It's that dirt that Jesus wants to come into over this Christmas season. You've tried other solutions. You've tried covering up your problems. You've tried some other things that maybe have made them a little bit better for a while, but you know all you've really done is swept things under the rug. You know that the dirt is still there. You know that you can come to church and put a fake smile on your face and pretend everything is okay. But you know underneath the surface, things are still a mess. You're still struggling with the relationship issue. You're still struggling with the sin. You're still struggling with this area of your life that you've not given over to God. And sometimes we think we have to fix things up on our own. We have to straighten things up on our own, and then we'll come to Jesus. You know, I'll deal with this now, and then in the new year, I'll make a New Year's resolution, and then I'll come to Jesus. We think that we have to tidy things up before we turn it over to him. But we forget that it's this messy world that Jesus was born into. It's our messy lives that Jesus wants to be born into. And sometimes he comes when we least expect him to. And we may have entered this Christmas season like we've done countless times in the past. And just like Zechariah, just like Mary, just like the shepherds, we don't really expect anything to be different. But today, God is speaking to you. Today he's saying, let me come in. Let me do what you cannot. Let me clean up your mess. Why would he do this? For a very simple reason. He loves you. Did you hear the scripture that Sandy read just a few minutes ago? For God so, what's the word? Loved the world, that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. That's why Jesus came into the messy world. That's why he comes into our messy lives. Don't let the decorations, don't let the lights, don't let the glitter hide from you or from God the mess that's in your life. Let Jesus see it. Let him into it. Let him bring his healing.